Доброе утро. Я не говорю по-русски. Я счастлив быть здесь. I now switch on to English, I'm afraid. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for the invitation. My first time in Russia. I'm very thrilled. And I would like to share with you some of the work we have been doing since 10 years ago, trying to understand the impact and the influence of the internet. And we focused on how the internet and digital technology is trying to, for instance, produce some effect in terms of trust between organizations and their stakeholders. So what I want to speak today, very briefly, try to be as brief as possible, is how trust is affected by the internet in these two fields: retail, B2C, business to consumer, retail, e-commerce, and local government. Because no one else has, usually when you study e-government, you study the big government, local, national governments, but not municipalities. So, I'll try to show you what we have been doing in terms of the project outline, its aims. Then we will compare, the e-commerce and local government. Then, if I have time, I will focus on some local government analysis very specifically, and I will draw a final conclusion. First of all, in order that you can compare yourself with what we are. That's a picture of your famous San Basilio Cathedral, and that's Santiago, the place where I come from. It's here you have your basic indicators. We are almost 10 times smaller in terms of populations, but our GDP per capita is very similar, nearly 15, you see, $20,000 per capita purchasing power in terms. In terms of human development, Chile is slightly ahead of the Russian Federation in terms of life expectancy and other health indicators. But our internet penetration rates we are lagging slightly behind you in terms of, almost depending on how you measure that, about half of the population, and 60 depending on how you make the question of if you're a user or not. And we also, according to the data from this university, you have 67.6 of internet users. And we have also a 25% of what we call proxy users. That means non-users that rely on someone else to have an access to the internet. So if you add to those figures, you have a very high penetration of the internet. Mobile communication is almost universal. Yeah, we have been studying this with two combined projects. These are two international networks. One is the World Internet Project, basically, which looks how the internet affects everyday life. That's a more communications and sociological kind of perspective. And there's the other side of the Business and Information Technology Project, which is complementary, and how it studies how the same technologies affect organizations and the economy. And basically, the World Internet Project WIP is based on a survey of users, and the other project relies on surveys to businesses and also sector analysis and also analysis of the economic figures. A first thing to take into consideration, if we compare the two latest BIT, and then the latest BIT survey was in 2010, and we did a WIP survey in 2010, and there is a kind of combination of factors here. Only 26% of the firms in the country do some kind of e-commerce. And in terms of internet users, in 2010, later on we got some more figures, only 27% bought something online. That figure has risen recently, but So still there's a lot of room to improve here. Companies are not so involved with social media. Users, everyday users, they engage. In 2010, 85% of them were engaged in Facebook. Nowadays it's almost 95%. So companies, organizations in general, are not so proficient at using